Welcome back to another exciting video, and what we're going to talk about today is how to make your double stops not suck. So if you don't know what a double stop is, we're going to clear the air. We're going to clarify. We're going to make sure that by the end of this video, you will completely understand what a double stop is. Now again, if you haven't watched my video on intervals, now again is a good time to watch it. Because everything we're getting ready to do, well, it comes down to intervals. And double stops are an extremely important part of rhythm and soloing. So in order to be a guitar god, we got to make sure that you understand what double stops are. Before we get started, I just want to mention real quick, please subscribe to my channel if you want to help support the channel. You can jump over to my Patreon page, or you can join through YouTube. Whichever way you want to do it does not matter to me. And that helps me continue to bring you this top-notch, high-quality, amazing content like we're getting ready to do on double stops. So with that being said, let's explain what we're going through here. So if you play guitar or piano or whatever it is that you play, any instrument, almost any instrument, you know what a triad is. And a triad is a chord that consists of 3 notes. It would help if I turn up my damn guitar, wouldn't it? And yes, that is distorted. Let's go to a clean channel. Clean channel. So that is a triad. Now all a dyad is, a double stop is, well, it's 2 notes. So you can take this chord and we can play these 2, and that's a double stop or a dyad, or we can play these 2 and that is a double stop or a dyad. A dyad or a double stop is literally just playing 2 notes. But there's many kinds of double stops. When most people hear double stops, they normally think of this. And that doesn't even scratch the surface of what it is. So I'm going to play you some examples of how other famous guitar players, not myself, have used double stops in the past for some really cool, tasty, and badassery. Check this out. Let's go to a distortion channel first. And we're going to jump into Stone in Love by Yes, the Great Journey, which, by the way, I put up a video. The guy that out Steve Perry, dude, it's been a blast. It has been so funny. People have been just ragging on me for saying that. It's been hilarious. Here we go. Stone in Love by Journey. What I'm going to do is I'm going to play a little bit of the riff, and I'm going to show you where he adds the double stop. And I'm going to show you the difference of it having a double stop as opposed to not having a double stop. Now that adds so much spice to that riff, because if we did it without the double stop, it just doesn't sound good. Listen. It's lifeless. It's boring. Dare I say, it kind of sucks that way. But when we add in that double stop, it just gives it that scream. It just adds that power. And I love double stops. When I did the video on the pentatonic scale and what do you do with it, I start that entire solo off when I go to the big heavy distorted part with just a massive double stop coming straight into the solo. And that just sets the mood, the vibe for the entire solo. So another example, and like I said, that is one. I'm going to show you several examples of how to use double stops by famous guitar players that are a hell of a lot more famous than I am. A lot more famous. So prime example, Zakk Wylde and Ozzy Osbourne, No More Tears. You're familiar with the song. And now he does a lot of this with slides. But one of the big double stop parts in that song is where he does this. Those are all double stops. 2 notes, 2 notes open, 2 notes, 2, 2. Those are all double stops. And it just sounds really fat as opposed to him playing a single line. It just sounds really fat to add that double stop on top of it. Another prime example is Bon Jovi. If you're familiar with the song I'll Be There For You, it starts off with that, I know we had a good time, and it... Those are all double stops. And that's actually what makes to me that song so cool is his use of double stops. Coming off of that first verse, then it does the big slide with the harmonics. Then it does these real high double stops. Then it goes back into, you said you've cried 1,000 rivers or something like that. But that is a fantastic use of double stops. And those are all examples of using them pretty much in rhythm sections. But what about in soloing? Well, when you're soloing, there's no better person to turn to for double stops than David Gilmour. That is correct. The man, the master, the mighty David Gilmour is a double stop phenom. He uses these things like crazy all the time. And a prime example, which is actually one of my favorite Pink Floyd songs, it's one we gig with and one that I sing, and it is Young Lust. And the song just absolutely kills. And it's got just this really cool little solo because the whole solo is absolutely full of double stops. And it goes like this. And that's pretty much the solo, and it's just chock full of amazing, amazing double stops. And like I said, double stops just don't have to be two notes like I've been playing here, to where it's been just basically, if we're using this as a root, it would be a fourth. There's so much more to it than that. If we take Home Sweet Home by Motley Crue and the amazing, incredibly underrated Mick Mars. Going through the solo, it has this little double stop section that goes into the octaves, which just happen to be double stops also. Well, all those are double stops, and when he's double stopping here, he's just playing these two notes, grabbing that other note, but then he goes on this little octave run here. And those are actually double stops. So, most people when they play them, they just use this, like I said, if we're using this as a root, this fourth below it. Well, double stops are so much more than that. Take Mr. Randy Rhoads on Flying High Again, which is chock full of double stop riffage. Check it out. Lots of double stops. And one of my favorite ones is when he's singing, when they're going into the chorus, and it has this double stop here. Those are all double stops. And like I said, what a tasty way to excite your solos and your rhythm playing. Because instead of just playing rhythm to where you're just constantly, you know, throw in double stops are a great way to accent around what you're doing. Absolutely fantastic way to do that. From Whitesnake, Still of the Night, more double stops. So they're an amazing way to spice up your solos and to spice up your rhythm playing by cutting those chords. If you got a chord and let's say you're just carrying this out for however many beats. Well, that's boring as hell. So why not grab that double stop, grab that double stop, and keep some movement to your rhythm playing instead of just this constant, you know. And it just adds so much more spice to your playing. And like I said, it gives it much more a sense of movement as opposed to just these chords, these static chords that are just sitting every 4 counts or 8 counts or however long you're holding them. Throw in some double stops and make your chords sound a hell of a lot better and make you sound a hell of a lot better as a guitar player. All right, so let's break this down a little bit. Let me go back to a clean channel. Beep. Clean channel. Jazz clean channel. Hell yeah, baby. All right, so let's just go here to this B. And as you know, we're at the octave of the B, and this is the octave of the E, E, E. Oh, that would not be E. That would be E. So, if we take this B and this E, and let's say we're centering this off of this B, so this would be a 4th. And like I said, this would be a fantastic time to check out my video on intervals. This would be a 4th, and it is a double stop. Well, if we take this down a half step, this would be a major 3rd, and this would be a double stop. If we go down another half step, this is going to be a minor 3rd, and that is another double stop. Then of course we keep going down and we'll get into a suspended 2nd. Then if we come back to our 4th, we take this up a half step, this is going to be a suspended 4. Now you gotta remember now, these are not triads, these are dyads. And the reason I'm calling them suspended 4 and all this stuff, so you understand and kind of gets in your head of what's going on here. I could simply say this is a root 4, and this is a root sharp 4. I could say that just as easily. But instead, it's better to understand this would be a sus4. If we were going to triad this would be a sus4. This is a root 5. This is your typical power chord, which is also a dyad, which is also a double stop. Then we're going to go up another half step. Now we're going to be at an augmented. And what an augmented is when you take the 5 and you raise it up a half step. You sharpen the augmented. Then we go up again and we are at a 6th. This would be our root. This would be our 6th interval. We go up again and we're at a dominant 7. We go up again, we are at a major 7. We go up again and now we are at an octave. Which sounds pretty cool when you do that. Same note, but an octave apart. So, but that is all these. This is a hard one. That's a hard stretch. Now we're down a knock. Now we're at the same, we're at the unison. They're exactly the same. And all those are double stops. And like I said, a double stop is a great way to enhance your playing. And you hear it all the time in blues and jazz and rock and roll. You know, in blues though, you know, those are double stops, what you're doing there. And you hear it, and every kind of music that there is. So that is your absolute thing that you need to know about double stops. That is it. That seals the deal on it. Throw them into your playing, spice up your solos and your rhythm. And on that note, we're going to wrap it up right there. And like the great Sammy Hagar says, if you miss a beat, you lose the rhythm and nothing falls into place. Until the next video, my friends, practice your double stops and rock on.